few books. But tonight we're going to be talking about your latest book, The Baby Dream. So I guess my question to you is, are you able to share a little bit about what led you to writing this beautiful, soulful book?
Yes, of course. Thanks for having me, Robyn. I'm Narelle Hudson, in case Robyn didn't say my full name and who I am. And yes, my book was born, I guess it started off as a cathartic process for me because I've always been a writer, and I usually write as a way of processing my emotions and feelings when I'm going through difficult things. And so it started off that it was just for me, that I was just writing about my journey and what I was going through in terms of experiencing infertility, and then undertaking the crazy journey of IVF and the many rounds that entailed. And yes, so I guess it started off more like a diary or a journal, and then it got to a point where I realized that it was obviously meant for a wider audience than just myself. It was meant to help many other people, because along the way I've seen that so many women experience infertility and fertility treatments and grief and loss as well, which is definitely covered in the book.
Yeah, and it's sort of we'll explore a little bit of that later, but it's one of those things that's often not talked about. Have you found since writing the book that women have come out of the woodwork and shared their experiences?
Yeah, I feel like they're really grateful that someone's actually saying what they're feeling in words. Like when I do public speaking events, I see them just sitting in the audience, just usually crying, but just nodding. And at the end of the talk, they may just come up to me and just say thank you, or they may not want to share anything, but it's just this beautiful acknowledgement that, hey, you get me.
Yeah.
And then other times they're at a different stage of their healing journey and they're ready to share where they're up to, and they'll start telling me their story. And that makes me so grateful, because that's why I've done this in the beginning, to hopefully encourage other people to share what they're going through and to break this crazy taboo around talking around grief and talking around infertility, because it's so important.
Yeah. You probably find that, like I just know working with women over the years, that sometimes it's the first time that they've probably had the opportunity to share that experience as well, like when they're speaking to you.
Yeah, definitely, because there are so many people that are uncomfortable talking about those topics. So in their social groups or their family groups, they often can't talk about it. I had friends that went through IVF when I was going through it and were fortunate enough to have beautiful children, and their families didn't even know how those children came about, because they just didn't feel comfortable sharing the process they were going through.
Yeah. There's a whole gamut of reasons around something like that, isn't there, that people experience? Yeah.
This makes people isolated though, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. And I think that's what we need to be breaking down. And a book like yours has done that. And just sharing a little bit, I read your book, and it was a soulful book, and I was in tears through part of that book, but they were healing tears. They were lovely. And it was like, why? Because I resonated with it. There was so much in there that I resonated with. And to me, if a woman can get that, then that's the pearl in your book, apart from your healing experience of your own.
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you work with women in your practice? And I guess, sorry, but what sort of areas of counselling and with your natural therapies do you find beneficial for women?
Yeah, well, that's obviously changed and evolved with the whole COVID climate that we're in. I used to do more face-to-face natural healing modalities and more face-to-face counselling work. I do Reiki and Reiki training for other practitioners. I do crystal healings, which are very powerful for that grief work and inner child stuff, and lots of healing things there. Reiki is beautiful for just calming our energy and clearing any blocks we have in our energy system, our chakras. And also massage was something I was doing as well, hot stone massage and things like that. All those somatic body work techniques I think are beautiful for releasing blockages, because our bodies also, store all of that emotional stuff, not just our brains.
Yeah, it brings that whole concept of mind, body, spirit together, doesn't it? It's a real it's like in action. It's just brings it together. And I feel, this is where, as you know, we can end up with a lot of things going on in our body if we don't allow the energy to move. So
yeah. And I guess now in COVID times, I am blessed in one sense because I can reach a wider audience. I'm working with clients all around Australia at the moment, mostly doing Zoom and telephone counselling sessions. I've had a few people brave enough to do some Zoom Reiki healings or Zoom crystal healings, which are beautiful. That energy still travels. You can do beautiful distance healing work in that space as well. But yeah, predominantly counselling at the moment, and I specialise in grief and loss and infertility sessions, but also do relationships, lots of mental health stuff, self-worth.
So the grief and loss is across the board, is it, as well?
Yeah, because it shows up in so many areas of our life, doesn't it? Like, when we think of grief and loss, we probably think of losing a loved one, but it also shows up in these times we're in at the moment, with people losing jobs, houses, all sorts of different things. It's not just losing a person all the time.
That's right. I'm just going to have a look, Narelle, and see if I can see anyone's online. Just bear with me. Okay, so there is a comment there. It's Olga. So hi, Olga. Thank you for sending a couple of love hearts. Good to see you there. I'll keep my phone in front of me, so I'll let you know, Narelle, if there's any comments to be shared. And Nini's watching. Hello. Great to see you, girls. So if you missed the beginning, we had a bit of a mishap and we had 2 attempts, but if you missed the beginning, feel free to go back. I guess, Narelle, coming back to you, would you encourage women to step forward and talk about their experiences, or would you, what about if someone's experienced this a long time ago? Would you encourage them to share that?
Yes, definitely. I think sometimes people don't want to step forward and share things if they're really old wounds, but I think, as we said before, that those old wounds, we push them down and we keep soldiering on and pretending we're okay, but I think they show up in our bodies, or they show up in our mental health later on if we ignore them for a time, because grief needs to be processed, and we need to acknowledge its existence and why it's there. And I think it's really important, even if it has been a long time, to reach out. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to go back and relive all the painful stuff. Maybe we can just work in how it's affecting you in the present moment.
Yeah. I'm just sharing a little bit about that. My mother had pregnancy loss, and I was a teenager at the time. And then, of course, I had pregnancy loss, as you're aware, and a lot of people are aware. And the difference was just phenomenal. My mother, what happened to her was just swept under the carpet, not spoken about. And she lost triplets that were stillborn, and it was never mentioned. It was just, that's it, it's finished, it's done. And so when I lost Corinda, I said to Mum, how did you cope with this? Did you see someone? And she said, no. And I just went, oh, wow. And not even in her relationship, it wasn't spoken about. It was just a thing that happened in her life. So I think over time things have changed as well, and I'd like to see them continue to change. So instead of them being taboo or not spoken about, it's really important for women that we, like you say, have that opportunity, how it's affecting us in the moment.
Yeah, and I think we've come a long way, but we still have a very, very long way to go, depending on the community you're in or the people you surround yourself with. I think we still, in this Western society, live in a very grief avoidant space where
We
it
do.
makes people uncomfortable and they don't want to go there. And I think when I was going through my grief, I thought it was because people didn't care, but in retrospect, I know it's because it's just hard for them to see you in pain and to know that there's nothing they can really do. So
Yeah.
we try and cheer people up. We try and, get them to move forward and be back at work on Monday, and we don't sit and hold space for them. And, I think that's so important. That's what counselling can be, just holding space for someone to process all those emotions that they're feeling and know that they're normal. They're not going crazy, because it can feel like you're going crazy when no one else is willing to hear it or talk about it.
Exactly. Yeah, definitely. So I guess, did you find like your book was beneficial for the healing part of your journey? And do you encourage others to take that leap of faith to share their journey if they're guided? So I think what I'm thinking about there is like you and I have both stepped up and shared part of ourselves. Do you encourage women to do that if they feel the pull to do that?
Yeah, definitely. And I don't think it has to look like anything in particular. It doesn't have to be a book like my story about my journey. It could be, Facebook Lives, or it could be talking on a podcast or having an interview with someone. Could be just something personal where you just write and have a journal or a diary that you keep. I know just any way of processing those feelings and getting them out is really helpful. It doesn't have to look like anything in particular. It's more the process.
Yeah, excellent. Olga said, so true, grief comes in waves and sometimes in the most unusual time. I had a moment today. So yeah, see? Yeah. It's like and I think Olga, I mean, I'll let Narelle talk to this, but I really think sometimes it just sneaks up on us. There's absolutely no warning.
Yeah, and in grief work, we call those grief bursts. They're just like little reminders that it's still there, and little triggers that are more prevalent probably on special occasions as you get further into your grief, like anniversaries or birthdays or special occasions that you normally would have shared with your loved one. But they can be really simple things as well, like a smell or a song, or just something that reminds you of your loved one and takes you back to that space. But lots of people think they're going back to the beginning of their grief when they're struck with those grief bursts, because they are so painful, but it doesn't mean you're going back to the beginning. It just means that it's a little reminder that the grief's still there.
Yeah, yeah. And that just sort of brings me to the point. And Rosalia's come on and she's saying, hi, beautiful ladies. Hi, Rosalia. Yeah, and I think that's an interesting thing too, is grief, there's no prescription, is there? There's no prescription on how grief can be, the time frame or the depth or anything about it.
Yeah, which is a good thing, because as much as society tells you you should do it a certain way, you actually can't get it wrong.
No, you can't get it wrong.
It doesn't come with a map. Some people wish it would come with a map and you just tick the boxes and go through the stages and you'd be done, but I don't think you're ever done.
No. Have you got your
changes?
Book? Have you got your book there near you?
Yeah, I do.
Oh yeah, can you hold it up and just show the cover? Such a beautiful book. Yeah, The Baby Dream. So
you see that okay?
Yeah. A beautiful book. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, a heartfelt book. Oh, okay. Rosalia's just said her Miko has crossed. So her cat, and there's another grief, isn't it? Has crossed today. I'm sorry to hear that, Rosalia. Yeah.
Me too. I'm a cat lady, and it's very painful to lose a cat. You have them for so long, they become your best friend.
Yeah. From my heart to yours, Rosalia. So if people want to get in touch with you, Narelle, how do they go about it?
So probably the easiest way is my website, which is narellehudson.com.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's probably in the links that you've put up already, Robyn. But but my book's also starting to make its way around. So you can also get it on Animal Dreaming Publishing website, Booktopia, amazon.com.au. You can go into your local bookstore and ask for a copy, and they'll be able to order it in for you if they don't already have it on the shelf. So yeah, it's
That's
exciting.
Good. And if someone wants to make an appointment with you, they can contact you via your website would be the best way?
Yes, that's the best way to contact me. Send me a message and we can talk about what sort of counselling or natural healing modality you're after. And hopefully in the new year, I'll be doing some more face-to-face work, but it's kind of the online world at the moment. Yeah. You definitely buy my book on there as well on the website.
Yeah, that's good. And your website explains the things that you do? Yeah. That's great. So I want to thank you for broaching topics that, so for instance, infertility, IVF, pregnancy loss, any of those things, it takes courage to broach those topics and to open the doors for other people. So I really want to thank you for doing that. And your book is also like another avenue of assisting with that. So not only do you provide the services, but you've also got the book to support that. And who knows, there may be cards in future. But I think the gift in that is knowing that women know they're not alone. So when we read, like when I read your book, it was like there was an instant resonance with the words that you've written and my experience. So it was like, you're not alone. And I think that's one of the gifts when we do share our story. So I want to thank you for doing that and broaching those topics because, they're really important.
Thank you. And it's just my personal story, but as you said then, I think, Robyn, it touches on so many common themes that people experience when they go down those painful roads. And I think it is really powerful. That's the feedback I've been getting from the book, that yes, it has brought on tears and people have been reading it in doses, but it's just helped them to not feel so alone and to be able to feel like someone else gets them.
Yeah. And you couldn't ask for more, really. So I think that's wonderful. There's someone else watching. Hi. And Rosalia says she loves personal stories as well. Yeah, it's a beautiful story, Rosalia. I couldn't put it down, actually. Yeah. So as a support person and a family member, is there a take-home message that you would provide to enable them to communicate with someone who's been through such experiences? And because, all too often we hear of people either doing avoidance and not saying anything or saying just the totally wrong thing. So I guess, have you got anything to say about that?
Yeah, I think instead of what lots of people do already, which is to jump in and try and cheer you up or try and fix the situation, try and refrain from that if you can, because it's actually not helpful. It's not helpful either when people jump in and share their own story of grief and loss, because sometimes you don't have space to hear other people's pain when you're in your own and it feels like the only thing that's going on in your world. And, just being there to listen, or just even, simple things like, I'm sorry for your loss. I don't know what to say, but I'm here if you need to talk. Here's a meal. Those beautiful little gestures that just show people that you're there if they want support, because at different phases in the grief journey, you may or may not want to talk about it, depending on where you're at with it. So just to know someone's there. And, when we're grieving, we lose our appetite, we lose motivation, we become depressed without being clinically depressed. And someone just jumping in and offering to help out or send you a meal can mean a lot.
Yeah. I like what you said about saying I don't know what to say. It's far more powerful than just blubbering on with a heap of, just to fill the space. Yeah.
Yeah, because it actually discounts your own feelings if someone else jumps in to try and, you know, tell you how you should feel or how they felt in that situation.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So there's a couple. Helen's just said hello. It's hard because you can't see the comments, so I'm just sharing.
No, hi Helen.
Rosalia is looking forward to reading your book, as she's had her own experience.
Thanks, Rosalia. Everyone's got their own story.
Yeah, they do. They do. Honouring you, Rosalia. And she says, Narelle, you have a beautiful presence. So true what you were saying.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, yeah. And there's somebody else watching as well. So it's like, yeah, I think it's really important. So I guess, is there anything else that you would like to share? Because, I mean, you've got, you know, all the chapters that you've written in your book. Is there anything, because I don't want to throw you in the deep end, is there anything that you feel that you want to bring up that you feel is worth bringing up?
I think it might just be important for people to know just a little bit more about what the book looks like. So in terms of the book, it's divided into 3 sections. So the first section describes life heading towards finding the perfect partner, because often that's a challenge for women. We've got that biological clock ticking and it's time to find the perfect man or the perfect partner, if it's not a man, to you know, to have the baby in the first place. So the first section talks about finding my prince and, you know, how I was sort of brought up in this pronatalist society that we all live in, where it's kind of expected, if not demanded, that as a woman you get married and have children. And yeah, and then the middle section talks about what happens when you actually can't just naturally fall pregnant and fulfill that pronatalist society mantra of just get married and have a child, and what that looks like to accept, which was a grief in itself, to accept that that wasn't going to happen naturally without lots of doctors and scientists, and IVF, which is a whole other roller coaster ride, which was a big decision in itself to go down that path. And then the last section talks about what happens after pregnancy loss, because we lost our beautiful son River Hudson at 23 weeks. And yeah, it talks about how we can still be our authentic self and how we can heal our grief so that life can still be joyous and meaningful and purposeful, without the dream that we once had, how that can look different. And yeah, I lost River over 11 years ago, so it's definitely not a quick fix or an easy journey to get to that point where you can move forward and see what else is possible, but it is possible if you have the right support.
Yes, a beautiful unfoldment there, Narelle, and in memory of River as well. So yeah, acknowledging your loss. And do you want to share a little bit how River sort of guided you to write the book?
Yeah, I'm a spiritualist, and I was at the Animal Dreaming Writers Workshop actually, and they have a competition that you can enter, which I think we've both entered with another thing we have in the making at the moment. But there was a meditation that I did during the workshop, and my son came through and he kept saying, because I'm clairaudient, and I kept hearing him say, share our story, mummy, share our story, you have to share our story. And so I went up to Trudy, who's one of the beautiful founders if you'd like to say it like that, of Animal Dreaming Publishing. And I was like, I'm not even going to enter the competition. I'm just going to send you the manuscripts. Like, I've been told I just have to do it. So yeah, it was just like, it was time. It had already been published before, but I just felt a spiritual calling to Animal Dreaming Publishing because they're such a beautiful group of people to work with.
Aren't they ever? Mm.
Yeah. So
I
was bullied into it by my son.
Yeah. How good is that? And you listened even better.
Yeah, because the human side of you is like, I can't do it. I don't want to share my story with everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'll just have a look. Okay, so witnessing is beautiful too. Yes, it is, Rosalia. Yeah. Okay, so that's that. I'm just glad that you've shared that, because to me that gives extra, I don't know, a little extra something to your book was, if you say guidance from river and also guidance from spirit together, working in unison. And I think when we trust that, you know, we can't go wrong. And look at the lives you're touching, you know. Yeah. And I know you've done lots of interviews everywhere, and yes, I'm very excited for you.
Thank you so much for supporting me.
That's all right, and I can't wait to see what's to come.
Yeah, for you too. And you've already got your beautiful card deck. I hear there could be a book on the way.
Yeah, that's right. We're both, you know, we're in there, aren't we? Doesn't matter how it comes to fruition, as long as it comes to fruition is my, yeah, you know. And I think I just feel beautiful healing cards to go with your book would be lovely. But anyway, we won't go there. We'll just leave that. So is there anything else that you wanted to talk about?
We might have covered it.
Has anyone got any questions? You're getting lots of love hearts here. Hello, everybody. I'm just going to keep looking at the phone. Okay, so has anyone got any questions for Narelle? I'm sure she'd be happy to answer. Listen to me. I'll just say.
Yeah, of course I would be.
Yeah. We'll just hang it out and see if there's lots of love hearts. I'll just wait a moment and just see if anyone has a question. Okay, so Rosalia is saying thank you. Olga sending love hearts. Beautiful. So it doesn't look like there is, and I think you've covered a fair bit, as we know.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful that you joined us tonight. So grateful. So glad that I met you and we got to hang out at the same table.
Likewise, nothing happens by chance, does it?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. And yeah, I look forward to future connections and hearing more. And thank you for those of you who are online, and thank you for those who listen later. It's really a beautiful journey of sharing your story and the unfoldment of where you've come to now. And I think that's a beautiful thing for women too, to see that, because like you said, sometimes things can be so overwhelming in the moment, and it's like if there's someone can assist people to see that there's more, that to help them move beyond where they're at.
Yeah, it's hard to see it when you're in it, but it can get better.
So thank you so much.
Thank you.